Good morning, esteemed panelists, and a very warm welcome to all the viewers for this National MedLegal Awareness Campaign on organ donation. It's a pleasure to have you all here on this Sunday morning, and we hope to have a good discussion. The whole idea of having this conversation is to try and resolve the legal issues in organ donation to ensure that the numbers of organ donation in India go up. In India, in the year 2019, though we had the second largest number of transplants in the world after the United States, but yet we really lag behind because of our huge population. And when we actually look at the rate of organ donation, it is a mere 0.65 per million population as compared to countries like Spain, which have a 35.1 per million population, and the United States with a 21.9 per million population. Out of this, cadaver donations represent only about 5% of all the donations. According to the World Health Organization, only around 0.01% of people in India donate their organs after death. We have an actual requirement of nearly 5 lakh organs annually, but hardly 2 to 3% of the demand for organs is met through donations. We have a growing need for organ and tissue transplant due to a large number of organ failure. Though we don't have exact data available, but estimated we need about 250,000 kidneys every year, about 80,000 livers every year, about 50,000 heart, and 1 lakh cornea every year. The best part is one donor, one single donor can save up to 8 lives by donating his kidney, his heart, 2 lungs, liver, pancreas, and intestines. Besides cornea, bone, skin, and blood vessels. A surprising fact or an amazing fact is in India, which are brainstem deaths due to other deaths besides these accident deaths. And in case of brainstem death, there are nearly 37 different organs and tissues which can be donated, including the which have already been named. But unfortunately, we are lagging behind because of lack of public awareness, because of religious or superstitious beliefs among people, because of certain laws, because of lack of awareness about centers. So the whole idea of this discussion today is to create that awareness to increase organ donation. With these few words, I would request Justice Tripathi ji to open this session for today and then hand over the proceedings of the day to Mr. Sunder Rajan to take it forward. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Friends, it is a very pious job which is undertaken by the Institute of Medical and Law. And I think only thing which is required to be done on the priority is awareness in the people. So far as law is concerned, I have seen the proceedings of Ahmedabad and Hyderabad. It is conveyed that there are some, fear in the minds of the doctors while engaging themselves in the organ donation. But then, friends, that can be taken care by 2 ways. One, we are having the advocate like Mr. Mahendrakumar Bajpai and an institution like India Institute of Medical and Law. They can take care of that, and they have been doing that job very well, especially when it was the matter pertaining to consumer protection. So friends, what is required to be done is, there are 2 things which are keeping us back or holding us back. One is social background or superstition, which is around the death and the organ donation before that. So if that thing can be systematically taken to the people by such drive of awareness, the things can definitely be better. Though Mr. Ravindra referred that we were the second highest in the world in the organ donation campaign, but then if you remember, I had sent a copy, on WhatsApp, this particular news item. This is Ahmedabad Mirror, and it says 70% of hearts, 100% of lungs donated by Gujaratis do not find takers in Gujarat. Now, this is because, there is lack of awareness on the part of the people at large. And I personally feel that some religious part is also coming in. So I'll request Mr. Ravindra Mangal to take this, entire movement to the religious leaders like Ramesh Bhai Ojha, Morari Bapu, and all those, because their appeal to the people carries a different weight, a different color, a different complexion. I remember we had one saint here in Gujarat, and when he made an appeal that you will not carry the plastic bags, there was a drastic change in the behavior of the people. So our society is such that that requires an appeal on that particular stage also, and the institute can definitely make a very good contribution. And so far as awareness and hesitation on the part of doctors is concerned, I am ready to contribute as many sessions as you want to see that I assure them that in your bona fide attempts, there will be no difficulty at all. But one thing is sure, the difficulty is that media today, not alleging anything to the media, but then, they sometimes highlight the issues in a out of proportion about the medical negligence. It might have happened in a remote place somewhere, and they'll make it a national news headline as if every medical practitioner is indulging into same type of negligent practices. So that is also out of proportion blowing, but then that can be taken care by more sort of more this type of webinars, and we can assure the doctors that in your bona fide action, the institute and the medical, the legal people like me will be standing with you, and will try to see that you are given sufficient protection in your bona fide actions. Only thing is you have to assure us that you are also putting your best. And I'm always been telling my, class, the classes which I take in National Judicial Academy, that whenever you ask yourself in the morning by standing opposite the mirror, that have I put my 100% yesterday? And the answer is never yes, because there is always a scope. So even if you feel that no, you did your best yesterday, you can still improve upon that and you can do better. So both these things we are requiring from the more social workers we want to involve in this, and the institute is to undertake this another drive of approaching the celebrities of religious field. They may be Jagat Gurus, they may be Shankaracharya, they may be somebody, because on their part when there is an appeal, superstition part and that religious beliefs, they can be taken care of. And friends, it could be only when somebody of your close relation dies waiting for an organ donation and you're not getting it, you can feel the pinch and punch of that. So all the good wishes to all of you to have a very fruitful discussion. I'll be here and will be enlightened and also enriched by the knowledge you people will be discussing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your kind words, Justice Tripathi ji. I really appreciate the support that you have pledged on this platform. Yes, we have media present today, and one of the aims of these sessions is to clear that doubt amongst the media, and a request to them to kindly also bring out the good stories and not only the bad aspects of medicine. I hope they can do that today. We are ready to answer any question. Then, like you said, we are ready to support them in any way that they want. Yes, we are also reaching out to religious leaders, we are reaching out to social workers, we are reaching out to celebrities, and we hope to make this a real success. Thank you so very much. Over to you, Mr. Sundarajan, to take the proceedings ahead.
Thank you so much, Raviji. I am Sundar Rajan, the CEO of the Institute of Medicine and Law. And we just heard Justice Ravi Tripathi ji's kind words. Thank you so much for your support again. I welcome all the panelists on board, and we will now begin our session today. So this is the third of the series. The first was in Ahmedabad, the second was in Hyderabad, and the third was in Kochi. And I would like to convey our special thanks to Dr. Noble Gracious, who actually mooted the idea that this should also be held in Kerala. So thank you very much, Dr. Noble. And of course, we will now speak to you also. But first, I would like to invite the patients on board to tell their side of the story, and then we will go ahead with the other panelists. Do keep in mind, we have a 5-minute slot for each speaker so that we can end this program on time. I would now like to invite our first patient, Mr. Vinu Nair. Fortunately and luckily, he has been able to get a transplant, but let's hear from him. You may have to unmute yourself first, Mr. Vinu Nair, and please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Sundarajan.
Highlight on the MedLegal aspects today as we discussed.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning, everyone. I am Vinu Nair, a media professional and a publisher based out in Cochin, Kerala. I'm a liver transplant, recipient, and my donor is my loving wife, Reshmi Sridhar. Well, my transplant was done in 2015 by Dr. Sudhindran in Amrita Hospital, Medical Science in Cochin. And since my allowed time is only 5 minutes, let me submit few points in front of this elegant panel. Well, my main concern, few points which I have noted down, as yesterday I had a discussion with Mr. Sundarajan also regarding these points. The first one is the third-party donor. Getting a donor is quite difficult, especially a small place like Kerala. So the third-party donor documentation, that should be stress-free. Like in Kerala, if the donor is a third party, the recipient or his or her immediate relatives have to furnish more than 100 to 150 papers. Imagine the situation. I know that we should follow the rules and law and everything, but 100 to 150 papers they have to furnish. And that too, still it's in this time also, it's only on papers, not through online. This is really a strenuous procedure. And the other one is regarding donor only. See, getting a donor is, as I told you, and even Justice also said the same thing. It's very difficult for finding a donor, living donor. So to prevent organ trafficking, the health department should conduct effective awareness campaign among those families of the recipients in order to maximize the willingness of organ donations from family members of the recipient. My another point is regarding the ethics committee. That is the biggest challenge for a transplant. In the case of third-party donor, that is the main thing. In the case of third-party donor, the donor or his or her immediate dependent has to face the ethics committee separately, individually, for a face-to-face interview. Usually this interview will be a traumatic experience for the families of both recipient and donor. Because for finding out the right intention, they used to threaten. I use that word threaten. They used to say his or her immediate family members by making them rethink regarding the donation, of saying that the donor may lose his or her life during the surgery. So imagine the donor withdraws. If the donor withdraws after filing all these kind of documents, listening to this, imagine the plight of the recipient of the ethics committees, these words. So my suggestion is to take an action and to after not action, to request the ethics committee approach should be more humanitarian. During the pandemic time, yesterday I had a discussion with a couple of hospital senior doctors. So they also said that they really insisted the ethics committee to take an interview online, but they didn't. I'm talking about the Kerala's thing. They insisted in person. Imagine the person, like from Cochin, the ethics committee sits in Alleppey. It's 52 kilometers away from Cochin. And that too in the Alleppey Medical College. They are taking the donor and the relatives of the recipient, immediate relative of the recipient. See, the risk factor is very high. And we approach the government also for this. But still it's going on that in person they have to go to the ethics committee and they have to meet them, that too in a medical college. And another one, expenses. Like in Kerala, right now the expenses around for a liver transplant is comes around 21 lakhs to 30 lakhs in a private hospital. See, we have beautiful medical team in Kerala. And our government of medical college in Trivandrum, it was ready for the last 5 years. The equipments were installed in the government medical college in Trivandrum. And I checked with the government doctors, and they said that the cost will come around 1 to 1.5 lakhs rupees only. Imagine the difference. But still, it's not working. They have not done a single surgery till now. 5 years they have kept it. But recently there's a news that the government is taking action to do the necessary actions. So the authorities should take necessary action to make this happen, which will help common man to serve his life without much financial hassles. And my another point, everyone will, every support, everything will be there till the surgery. After that, the post-surgery, there's a huge expense behind this. Post-surgery medicine expenses is another headache. Medicines like immunosuppressants are very expensive and the patient has to take this lifelong. People who are financially backward suffer the most. Therefore, the government should consider giving these life-saving medicines either completely free or at least 75% discounted rate. In Kerala, fortunately, we have a registered association for the liver transplant patients. We have included the donors also in that. It's called liver transplant, LIFOC, we call it as LIFOC, Liver Transplanted, Liver Foundation of Kerala. And we have taken initiative for helping people who are struggling to meet their medical expenditure like this. LIFOC has already submitted the representation to the Kerala government and the Honorable Health Minister for sorting out these issues, and we are getting a favorable reply from the government positively. Finally, I wish to say everybody should follow the law, and the law should consider the value of one precious life too. Thank you, Institute of Medicine and Law, for giving me an opportunity to express my views and concern for all the patients and all the donors. Thank you very much.
Very, very well summed up, Mr. Vinu Nair. Thank you so much. And for telling your side of the story. I think your points are very well noted. I will quickly now move to our second patient, and I want to check if they are able to hear us. Mr. Raju, will you be able to unmute and speak, please? We are not able to hear you. Okay, I think we have some technical trouble reaching Mr. Raju.
Yeah.
Yes, Mrs. Raju, can you please speak? Can you hear us?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Are you hearing, sir?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead and please tell us your side of the story. Mr. Raju is currently awaiting a transplant. So, Mrs. Raju, if you can kindly tell us what transplant are you awaiting and what are the problems that you are facing?
We have suffered more problems.
Sorry, we are not able to hear you very clearly. Can you please repeat?
Sir?
We could not hear you. Can you please repeat? What organ transplant is he awaiting?
Yes, sir.
Which organ transplant is he awaiting?
Sir, we are waiting, sir.
All right. For which organ transplant? Is it for kidney or for liver?
Liver, sir.
You are awaiting a liver transplant. What I would and how much time are you waiting for?
We are waiting for 4 years more than, sir. 4 years more than waiting.
That is a very, very long time. And what are the problems that you are facing?
We have financial problems, sir. That is very problem.
Okay. What I would request is we have Mr. Vinu Nair here, and Mr. Vinu Nair, I will pass on their connects to you. Possibly you may be able to also help them.
Are they from Kerala?
Yes, they are from Kerala.
Can I talk to them in local language, Malayalam? For a moment.
Maybe after this
okay, fine.
event, because otherwise everybody else.
That's right. Because it's a long period which they are telling, and we are unaware of that. The organization can take up some. There are so many charity institutions also here, so we can also definitely, if it is financial thing, we can do whatever the maximum we can.
We know. I think one of us can briefly translate what Mr. Raju has to say. That's it.
Yeah,
I would request that.
Yeah, that's what. Can I?
Yeah, let me do that.
All right.
Raju, പറയൂ എന്താ ഇഷ്യൂ എന്ന് പറയൂ. രാജു എന്താ ഇഷ്യൂ എന്ന് പറയൂ നിങ്ങളുടെ.
സാർ, ഞാൻ മഞ്ജു, രാജുവിന്റെ ഭാര്യയാണ്.
പറയൂ മഞ്ജു, വേഗം പറയൂ.
സർ, 2006 ഇദ്ദേഹത്തിന് അസുഖം വന്നത്. ലിവറിന് കുഴപ്പമായിട്ടാണ്.
ഏത് ഹോസ്പിറ്റലാണ്?
അമൃത ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിലായിരുന്നു ട്രീറ്റ്മെന്റ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നത്.
ഡോക്ടർ സുധീന്ദ്രന്റെ അടുത്താണോ?
സുധീന്ദ്രൻ ഡോക്ടർ അടുത്ത്. ഇപ്പം ട്രാൻസ്പ്ലാന്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി 4 വർഷം മുൻപ് പറഞ്ഞതാണ്. അപ്പം മെഡിസിൻ കൊണ്ട് കുറെ അങ്ങ് കഴിഞ്ഞു പോയി. ഇപ്പൊ ഈ അവസ്ഥ വന്നപ്പോ തീർത്തും വയ്യാണ്ടായി. വയറിന്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ നിറയെ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് നീരായി, കാലയില്.
ഫേസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ഫൈനാൻസ് ആണോ, ഡോണറെ കിട്ടാത്തതാണോ?
ഡോണറെ കിട്ടാത്തതും വലിയ പ്രോബ്ലം ആണ്. ഫൈനാൻസിന്റെ വലിയ പ്രോബ്ലം തന്നെയാണ് സാർ.
Okay. So the thing is that they were extending with the medicine for the last 4 years. Now the scenario has been changed, and now he has to do the surgery. So for that they are waiting for the donor, as well as they are struggling for the money. So let us put this matter to the Liver Foundation of Kerala and the other institutions also. Let's work out. And Raju, Manjuna and the number note ചെയ്യാം. അതിൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് വിളിക്കാവുന്നേ ഉള്ളൂ. വിളിച്ചിട്ട് ഞാൻ അതുമായിട്ട് കണക്ട് ചെയ്ത് തരാം. അതിന്റെ അസോസിയേഷൻ ആൾക്കാരുണ്ട്. 98475
പറഞ്ഞോളൂ.
98475 475 111
475 98475
111 44 111 അതെ, അതിൽ വിളിച്ചിട്ട് ഞാൻ അവരെ കണക്ട് ചെയ്ത് തരാം. സോ ഐ തിങ്ക് ഐ വിൽ ബി ഏബിൾ ടു കണക്ട് ദം ടു ദ അസോസിയേഷൻ പീപ്പിൾ ആൻഡ് ലെറ്റ്സ് ഓഫ് ഫോർ ദ ബെസ്റ്റ്. Okay, don't worry, Manju and Raju. Okay, please go ahead, Mr. Sunder.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Vinu Nair, thank you so much. I think it will be a really great help to such people.
Yeah, definitely. We are here to do that.
Now, I see a few problems here. One is lack of awareness. The second is they just don't know to whom to go and ask for help, especially when it comes to financial help. And I'm sure that they are probably not even aware about what is the financial help that they need after the transplantation is complete, let alone the legal problems. Now, you have highlighted many legal problems which we've heard from Mr. Vinu Nair. I would now like to invite Dr. Noble Gracious and to speak about some of these problems that we have heard. How does one get aware about these problems? How does one come up? Is there any help available? Do you think you will be able to speak on it, please?
Yeah, thing is, regarding the financial help, usually the patients are registered through transplant coordinators from a transplant center. We have given instructions for all the transplant coordinators to tell the recipient relatives that these are the options for. There are a lot of government schemes also to support them. There is social security mission is there to support them. There is a pension scheme for them. So there are options. I think probably the patient also might have been informed from the Amrita Hospital itself the various schemes under the government as well as various charitable institutions which can support them. So that is another issue. The second thing is regarding, as Vinu Nair was highlighting, the government medical institutions should start transplant program. Actually, Government of Kerala is really committed to this mission, and in another 1 or 2 months, the program in college will kickstart on liver program. That is almost everything is ready. We are evaluating the donor recipient pair, and probably it will be conducted in another 1 or 2 months. Regarding the ethics committee, this is otherwise known as authorization committee, which gives approval for organ donation. It is basically to ensure the donor safety and to ensure that no commercial transactions has been made. So this is the job of the ethics committee. I think they should do that. The way Mr. Vinu Nair was telling, it was threatening. I don't think it is a right word to use that, because they are authorized by the law to ensure that there is no commercial transactions involved in the organ donation program among unrelated donors. And second thing, they should ensure that the donor is giving the organ knowing the every facts of the donation process, because it's very important. He should be aware of the complications. He should be aware of living with a half liver or one kidney to entire life. So this is important, and that should be actually done by the transplant team of that corresponding hospital and not by the ethics committee. But it is the duty of ethics committee also to do that. So and another thing is about online convening the meeting of online. That is also under consideration of Government of Kerala. Probably some legal matters also need to be discussed, because it is video graph also is taken. So if we can record Zoom or whatever platform, then probably it will be under consideration. That will be definitely taken care of. That is all from me, from the government administration.
Thank you, Dr. Gracious. You represent an organization called the Kerala Network for Organ Support.
Yeah.
Now, one question that Mr. Vinu Nair asked was the need for filing in about 160 odd pages of paperwork by somebody who needs an organ to be transplanted, who is a recipient. Is there a way by which this process can be simplified?
No, that was actually a bit exaggeration, I will tell. It is around 10 to 15 documents that is actually stipulated by the law to ensure that the donor and recipient have some connection in as relation or a friend, and they will examine few documents like income tax receipts or savings bank account details. That and all is not that huge to do, and we are trying to convince the government to simplify these documents, and if that is possible, these documents can be scanned and sent to the committee prior to appearance. That and all is under consideration. That is all is being seriously considered for that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dr. Noble Gracious. You've actually, completed your speech within 3 minutes. So thank you so much. I will now invite Dr. Sumana Naveen. She is the course director for Mohan Foundation, and you've been patiently hearing the patient side and Dr. Noble Gracious also speaking. We'd love to hear your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Sundarajan, and thank you, Ravindra ji, for having me here. One of the points that Dr. Noble brought up was the role of a transplant coordinator in all of this. Mohan Foundation has been working to train transplant coordinators and other healthcare professionals to facilitate precisely this kind of process. So one part of the work that a transplant coordinator would do would be to actually handhold patients like Raju and Manju and, help them, with the various options that are available. So with living donation, yes, there are a lot of challenges. There is a lot of paperwork to be done. And I know our transplant coordinators talk about how many minute details they have to look at, address, and make sure that there is, no false paperwork that is submitted. So, because yes, there are desperate people waiting for an organ. So with living donation, there is a lot of paperwork involved, and the transplant coordinators do try in every way to help the process. Hopefully, as Dr. Noble said, that process can be slightly simplified. Coming to the other part, that there are not enough donors. One of the things that we've realized is that with living donors, while somebody in the family may be willing to donate either a kidney or a part of the liver, they might not be medically fit. Given the kind of lifestyle diseases that are now prevalent in our country, especially with diabetes and hypertension, so there could be a family, relative, somebody who wants to donate a part of the liver, and then you find out they have a fatty liver. So what is the other option? So that's where you're looking at deceased organ donation. And that is something that, I think a lot of organizations across the country have been pushing for, have been trying to work towards encouraging families, individuals to think about deceased organ donation and donate organs after death, something that Ravindra ji actually mentioned in his inaugural address. And I think what we have tried to do is to empower professionals in the intensive care unit who work with brainstem death certification or managing a potential donor, breaking bad news to the family and offering the option of organ donation, which is where the grief counselors and the transplant coordinators also come in. And as it is mentioned in the law, that intensive care doctor, unit doctor, along with the transplant coordinator can actually make this approach. So we have worked very hard towards empowering medical professionals to feel comfortable. One is to be empowered with the knowledge of processes, procedures. And while the framework of the law, the Central Act, does tell you that you have a certain form that you have to fill out, each state government has actually come up with, government orders or guidelines, and these do facilitate the process of certification of brainstem death. Something that Justice Tripathi brought up, and I think that's really very important, that doctors also need to feel protected, that when they're doing, the right thing, and they want to do the right thing. So when you say that there is a patient who's brainstem dead, you certify the patient, you talk to the family for whatever reason, and they have every right to say yes or no. And if they say no, how do you then, bring closure to that whole process? And I think the Kerala government has tried to do that with a government order which says you can disconnect the ventilator, once brainstem death has been certified. But still, I think that comfort level is not there. So while Mohan Foundation, through its training programs, is empowering doctors, healthcare professionals, transplant coordinators with the necessary knowledge and skills to do maybe the medical part of it, like Justice Tripathi said, their bona fide actions need to be protected, and which is where I hope, these discussions, this forum will give that protection or offer that reassurance, saying that, you do what is right. And we are there to say that what you've done is perfectly legal and right. So I think a coming together of both of these become extremely important. And, as Mohan Foundation and, and through the work that we've been doing over the past 20 odd years, we've been trying to empower on both fronts. I think Dr. Shroff has actually been a part of some of these discussions earlier on as well, and which is where the push for the uniform definition of death, but brainstem death is death, and for that to come into the Registration of Births and Deaths Act. So all of these together, I think, will facilitate deceased organ donation, which then becomes an option which can be offered to patients who do not have a living donor. And even if they do have a living donor, people are not fit to donate. So I think we need to work together on this front. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sumana. You stuck exactly to the 5 minutes allotted. I don't know how you do it, but thank you so much. You've brought in several important points, especially the role of transplant coordinators, and you also mentioned the legal knowledge or the process knowledge that needs to be imparted to all the doctors so they act in a more supportive way. You raised a very important point on the uniform definition of death, but I will leave that to the advocates who are now coming later in the program to talk about. I would now like to go to Mr. Kurian. If you can kindly unmute yourself, sir. Mr. Kurian, a long list of salutations here: President, Zone Chairman, Regional Chairman of the Lions Club. Organizations like yours play a very important role, and especially when we are talking about the legal challenges that donors and recipients both face. If you can throw some light on these aspects from your perspective.
Thank you for the opportunity for presenting my case here. It's an interesting, definitely, and very relevant subject we are talking about today. The people should be, or the youngsters should be given the importance of their body and their organs. We should not take it for granted that our organs can be replaced just like that either. So we need a lot of education from the grassroots level, from the younger age itself. See, what's happening today is that like many of my earlier speakers said, some of the misconception due to religious blind faiths and stuff like that. People are a little bit wary about donating their organs or parting away with their organs. But before that, we should understand that our organs are not, designed to be collapsed or to be wasted away. It's a kind of, I would say, the lifestyle is very important. So how to maintain our body and our organs. So, like Dr. Sumana said, if there are no quality organs to be donated, who is going to donate it? So that is also one point that we need to understand. And like while I was in the president of Lions Club, we did the cornea transplant. We did harvest 3 corneas in 1 year time, which is nothing much to say. But then to get even one person to agree to this kind of thing is it's a very sentimental stage when you talk to the immediate relatives immediately after the death in the family that we are here to take the corneas, and it's even for educated people, it is not easy to. So you need people to train people to convince the general public that these are the pros and cons. As one thing, and like I earlier said, we should start from school level. The children should be given awareness about the validity, the value, and the organs which we all take it for granted, and this is very important. So I think these are the major points which where we can, and of course, like all the organizations like Lions Club or Weissman Club and Rotary clubs, all these clubs can also contribute in their own way, but that will be all in the peripheral. And I understand Mr. Vinu Nair's concern about the ethics committee and the troubles of going through the permission. But then the problem is that when you are in need of the organ, of course you will find that these are unnecessary. But unfortunately, we need to have proper checks and balance to redefine death, for example. Dr. Musapan also mentioned that, these are very, very narrow black and gray, white lines, which we had to thread very, very carefully. Otherwise, you tend to make a lot of bodies. I think I made my concerns clear. Thank you so much.
Sir, no. Sunder sir, no, he is not coming.
Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Kurian.
I think I am done. I think I've spoken enough, and I'll give the mic to better learned people, and I'd like to listen to them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I would now like to invite Dr. Rajiv Jaidevan. I think your camera is off. If you can kindly turn on your camera, please.
We'll do that.
So Dr. Rajiv Jaidevan is a senior consultant gastroenterologist and deputy medical director, Sunrise Group of Hospitals, and former vice president of IMA Cochin. Sir, your views on the legal problems that the medical community faces and the patients also face.
Yes. Thank you for having me, and Rajiv Jaidevan. I'll spend 5 minutes, so it's 12:15. So the problem I see is, we've spoken on this topic before. I'll try to explain what has not been discussed in the meeting so far. I don't want to repeat some of the points. So I've been an activist in terms of public education, been talking on multiple public health matters over the past 10 years in India. Now, as far as the organ donation goes, a problem we see in this part of the world, that is in Kerala, is a problem of negative publicity. See, even with COVID-19, we are seeing plenty of negative publicity. A lot of negative news comes. So I've been writing, I've been speaking on this. So I'll give you an example. Many of us believe that if a negative news comes out about a topic, we can successfully counter it by giving an explanation. Now, you know why that is false? That's a false statement. I'll explain why. If one bit of negative news weighs 1,000 kilograms, a ton of weight, an equally positive counter response will weigh about 10 grams. Many of us think that an equally positive reply will weigh equal amount, that is 1 ton. It's not 1 ton versus 1 ton. It's 1 ton versus 10 grams. That's unfortunate. And I will repeat what Honorable Justice said here. To improve the quality of the positive response, it's not just enough that the doctors speak. We need KOLs, that is key opinion leaders. India is an emotional society. America, I've lived there for 10 years. America is an emotional society. As rational as we think they are not. We saw that in the last 6 months. Indians are similar. We think with our, we don't really think logically. I'm talking across the board, all right? So this is, if you look across India, most of the responses we see, even with COVID-19, I've been quite active on the COVID-19 circuit as well. Most of the responses we see are either personally biased, emotionally charged, or politically colored. So we need to keep the science apart. But unfortunately, the public loves negative news, and no part of the world is an exception to that. Special reference to a particular movie that was called Joseph that came here. It was, I haven't seen it, but it is apparently a well-crafted thriller. Thrillers are good because I love thrillers myself. So unfortunately, this movie sent out a message that all road traffic accidents or motor vehicle accidents, that's another area of my own personal interest. I'm a road safety trainer as well. So that explains my double interest in this case. So that movie apparently gave out a message that a road traffic accident could be staged to harvest the person's organ. It's a very credible theory for someone who has borderline knowledge, and it is incredibly difficult to counter that. which is why I said these things weigh a ton, and probably the movie Joseph must have weighed 1,000,000 tons for Kerala. It literally devastated the organ transplant mindset, cadaveric organ transplant mindset in Kerala, and that's a fact. And there was one incident in a medical college in Thrissur, which again, there was a big controversy needlessly generated by a grieving family member of somebody who died, who went on record on media and claimed that this accident was staged by the medical college to harvest his organs. And his claim went viral. Everybody who lives in Kerala knows the story, and they believe it. And people like me have countered it. I've gone on television and done recordings and explained to them, look, you can't hit somebody with a truck and harvest their organs. This is not an apple or orange trade. It is not. But you know what? That interview was recorded, I think, 2 years ago. It has still not been aired. It shows how much interest the channel has to express the views. And then when I called the person who recorded it maybe a year ago, he said, I'm sorry, I left the channel. So that these I'm just giving you some stories to explain how things actually work on the ground. And do I have a solution? I don't. And I'll give you a motive. See, any crime has a motive, right? The motive for the negative news is strong. Unfortunately, from all the experts I've spoken to in preparation for this talk, I'll tell you, it's a very scary and disappointing motive. Organ trade flourishes not through cadaver. Organ trade flourishes through living donor. And these living donors are lured with money, and there is money involved with middlemen being involved with posing as altruistic donors. That happens. And I'm sure it happens in other parts of the world. I'm told it happens. And it is in their interest that the cadaveric program has come to a grind, has ground to a halt, because if cadaveric flourishes, their business drops. Their business will only work if they face an economically disadvantaged person, offer them a ton of money, or offer them make a financial transaction and profit themselves. And all the paperwork that's been mentioned here has two sides, as rightly said. I would take Vinu Nair's side and say, perhaps 2 bits of paper, of good paperwork, is better than 100. Maybe they're not 100. It may be 15. But let me finish with just one example. I've lived all over the world. I've flown all over the world. I'm sure all of you have. Most of you have. Have you noticed how many times a boarding pass is checked in India after your boarding pass is issued? Has it ever happened in any other nation? Once your boarding pass is issued, there's no need to check it. Now, here in India, you pass the gate, there is one person who's standing 10 feet away, he'll check the boarding pass for you. There's another security guard that is standing 15 feet away, he'll check for you. And there's another person who's standing at the entry of the aircraft, he'll also check for you. Why? Because we are not sure of our own paperwork, or what? We have to make sure the quality of our paperwork is more credible, rather than increase the number of papers that are to be submitted. That's all. Thank you.
Fantastic words. Thank you so much. I think you stressed upon the negative publicity that is actually taking a toll on the entire effort that has been done by great people. And another fan for Mr. Vinu Nair here. So moving on, I would now like to invite Mr. Mahendrakumar Bajpai. Let's go to the legal side of things. Mr. Bajpai has been a crusader on all the legal issues for the medical community and has been in the field educating doctors for over 14 years now. Mr. Bajpai is also advocate of the Supreme Court and honorary director of the Institute of Medicine and Law. Sir, welcome. Your views, please.
Thank you, Sunder sir. Dear friends, good afternoon. Undoubtedly, organ donation is a vital issue in healthcare today. No one would disagree. But as far as law is concerned, the challenge lies in the fact that it is a donation, a voluntary act. There can be no element of force or intimidation nor commercialization. As to what my very dear friend Rajiv said, probably Dr. Noble Gracious would disagree, and he has disagreed here also. Let all of us, without taking sides whether this is right or that is wrong, understand the problems that the lawmaker has to face, that the regulator has to face in a country like India. There are different sections of societies. Socially, educationally, economically. And you have to make a law that caters to everyone. Let us all come to a conclusion. Let us look into the history of laws relating to organ donation. World Health Organization had initiated discussions on organ donations. The entire gamut of laws, not only in India, but all over the world, came into existence only because of organ trafficking. 1980s, it was a big problem. So paperwork, yes, we cannot compare ourselves with the developed nations. They'll have to be there. How otherwise are we going to keep the checks and balances? And this controversy can keep on going. So I'm neither taking this side nor that side, but everyone is justified in putting across their views. Legally speaking, in the other two meetings also I have said, I'll again reiterate here. There is one issue very close to the heart. There is one issue that really needs to be addressed as early as possible. A legal issue, the issue regarding definition of death in India. Death is defined as permanent disappearance of all evidence of life after birth. This is the definition in the Registration of Birth and Death Act. But there is another law, the Organ Transplant Act. A brainstem death person is also considered as dead. Admittedly, there is no permanent disappearance of life. But unfortunately or fortunately, this definition is limited only to transplantation of organs and not otherwise. And see the interesting aspect. A patient's family gives consent for organ donation. Apnea tests are done. The death certificate is ready. The person is pronounced dead. And before the actual organ harvesting happens, they change their mind. Now this dead person again becomes alive in the eyes of the law. So there is a need, a desperate need for one definition of death. And this should include brainstem death also. Let us decouple brainstem death with organ donation. This will not only help organ donation, but also ensure that an otherwise dead person who is in an irreversible condition, and irreversible condition according to medical science, does not keep occupying a ventilator. This ventilator could have saved another life. Let us admit we are a developing nation. Our resources are scarce. Gujarat and Kerala have brought this change. There is a need to bring this change at the national level. There are a few other legal aspects on which I'll throw light very briefly. First, there are certain statutory requirements that have to be fulfilled by doctors. This must be done away with. If you want the doctors to be assured, if you want them to practice fearlessly, to promote organ donation, to promote this noble cause. All procedural requirements must be handled by either the hospital administrators or the statutory authorities. Doctors must be indemnified completely. A very simple but important change that must be done if we have to promote organ donation. Another suggestion is regarding cadaver donations from medico-legal cases. Patients who are victims of crime or accidents. We have so many of them. Law is absolutely clear that the police officer has a discretion to seek a post-mortem. There is a discretion. It's not compulsion. But in real life, the police officer seldom uses this discretion. Even in medico-legal cases where the patient has been hospitalized for a few days, the reason for injury is medically confirmed. The dead body in all medico-legal cases is routinely sent for post-mortem. This is not a legal prerequisite. Specific rules can be laid down for organ donation from medico-legal cases. And the decision on post-mortem must be taken by higher police officials in active consultation with the medical team who was treating the patient. Probably will be doing away with post-mortem. This will also make a big difference in organ donation. The last suggestion is regarding unclaimed bodies. The law, the Transplantation of Human Organs and Tissues Act, permits donation from such bodies, but unfortunately the procedure is missing. So lawmakers must focus on this aspect, consult all the stakeholders and come out with appropriate rules and regulations. Thank you very much.
Bajpai ji, thank you as usual for those scintillating words. We are now at the end of our session. And we have heard all the speakers. I would now like to invite again Justice Tripathi ji, because I would like to hear from him on what are his comments after listening to all the panelists.
Good afternoon, everybody. Friends, it is a really very interesting session we had, and a variety of views we have before us. The difficulty is that you cannot say that Mr. X was right and Mr. Y was wrong. Of course, the lighter side of it is that the matter was being argued in a courtroom and an advocate was very vehemently arguing. And the judge, as his habit, will say, yes, you are right. So that went on for quite some time, and then the other side got the opportunity to argue. So he started arguing, and the judge in his own habit saying, yes, you are right. So a person like Mr. Sunder Rajan stood up and said, sir, if he is also right, and if he is also right, then actually who is right? And the judge said, yes, you are right. So it is very difficult for me to say that Mr. Vinu Nair was absolutely right and Mr. Noble Gracious was not right. So that is not possible. I am the judge of that one which I referred to. But the difficulty is that there are difficulties, but those difficulties are because of precautions required to be taken in such serious matter, and because there are possibilities, and these things are prone to mischief, and as the human being are, these particular procedures are required. But then one thing is certain, that there has to be simplification. I have few suggestions to make. You all must be aware that there is a body like Legal Aid Authority in the State Legal Services Authority. You will find there is a body in every state like that, and especially at the capital place you will find with the High Court there is a Legal Services Authority. The institution like Indian Medical and Law and like Mr. Vinu Nair referred to that liver donation, that association. These people jointly can try to see that chairman of that legal services authority is approached, and that chairman is always the sitting judge of the High Court. And it carries a lot of weight when he puts a proposal to the government on the matters of simplification of procedure. And I am suggesting this because that he will be the person normally, the second senior most judge of the High Court. And once you are able to convince him on one-to-one basis, he will be able to put your word across. And then what Mr. Rajiv Jaidevan was saying, the things can be taken care of. Of course, one very valid point he made is that negative publicity weighs a ton and explanation thereof weighs at 10 grams. So there is no match. And that is why I remember in the High Court when we used to have cases of somebody having published a particular news item in a particular newspaper in particular manner, we always used to say that you'll have to explain the same thing, or you have to say sorry on the same page in the same font. Otherwise, what will happen? Like a cigarette box, you'll find that smoking is injurious to health. You have to find out with the vernacular, so where it is. So that should not happen. That is why we used to say in the order itself that sorry, even if it is to be printed or it is to be published, it will be on the same page, almost at the same place, in the same font, and then it will be acceptable to the court. So that is one thing which I feel that it can be done very easily, that we can approach the Chairman Legal Services Authority at the state level. Second thing is, so far as definition of the term death is concerned, as Dr. Advocate Bajpai very rightly referred to, for that, of course, I think, again, these associations, if they write in their earnest to the Law Minister Central, possibly things can be worked out and possibly some fruitful result can be there. Because these are some technical difficulties, and this is because of lack of coordination, I can say, or lack of, type of engagement should be there on part of the different bodies. These difficulties come and do arise. But then can be taken care of if the law minister at the central level is approached with that. Friends, the other part is still remains that so as long as you are not able to change the mindset of the people at large, and with that goes everything, economic conditions, social conditions, religious beliefs and all that. For that, I think you are required to involve, as I suggested in the form of my address, that religious celebrities as well as some other celebrities who are pro bono, they are able to help this particular movement. They can be also involved and they can be. Today I read in newspaper, there is a news item wherein Akshay Kumar says, I'm referring to the actor, that he says that now that the construction work of Ram Mandir is coming up, everybody should donate like the members of the crew of Sri Ram and that squirrel. And then he had narrated the story. And the story as it goes, that monkeys were trying to put the heavy stones in the water and they were floating and the bridge was under construction. A squirrel tried to help that particular construction work by going to the sand, getting herself wet first and then, taking that sand in the water. So even that much effort on the part of the people at large will definitely push this particular movement forward. And of course, all these bona fide attempts which you are making are definitely going to make a headway. There's no doubt about it. Only thing is, law requires simplification. There's no doubt about it. But then that simplification can't be at the cost of that mischief mongers are able to get in. So that we have to take care, and the law is trying to take care of that. Then the second thing is about doctors' protection. And they should have the protection. There's no doubt about it. But possibly one suggestion was that they should have a protection like the judges have for the judgments. I think that may be a higher claim for the doctors, because the number of cases which are reported and number of cases which come to the society where people do believe, maybe because part of the negative publicity, but then they are carrying a weight. So that may not be the equal platform on which we can put, or plank on which we can put. But then certainly, there are a lot of things which are required to be done, and this is a very good step in that particular direction. Thank you very much. A special thanks to Indian Institute of Medical and Law for giving me this opportunity to be with all of you and share my views. Thank you very much.
So thank you for your encouraging words. Your inspiration and your continued support really mean a lot to us. We are now at the end of this session. I would like to see if there are any media persons, then they can put up their questions. Okay, I don't see any questions coming up, but whatever questions are there, you can send it to us or to the organizer, and we will get it to the relevant panelists. I would now like to invite Mr. Agasti Matre to present the vote of thanks, please.
Thank you, Sunder sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a very knowledgeable session today. I thank you, Justice Ravi Tripathi for his kind words for Institute of Medicine and Law. I thank you all the media persons. I thank you all our partners to make this event a good success. Thank you, everybody. See you in next one.
Thank you, Mr. Matre. Really great having all of you here. And then we sign off for today. Meet you in the next session. Thank you so much, all of you.